All right, let's get to the other politics today. President Obama making a speech just about 35 minutes ago on gas and oil prices and promoting what he says the administration is doing to get gas prices down and to keep them down. Here's President Obama just a short time ago.
We've opened up new areas for exploration. We've quadrupled the number of operating rigs to a record high. We've added enough new oil and gas pipeline to circle the earth and then some. But as I've said repeatedly, the problem is we use more than 20% of the world's oil and we only have 2% of the world's proven oil reserves. Even if we drilled every square inch of this country right now, we'd still have to rely disproportionately on other countries for their oil.
All right, let's bring in our political panel to debate this issue, which is going to be a big one throughout the election season. With us from Miami is Ed Pozzuoli, former advisor to Jon Huntsman's presidential campaign. Morning to you, Ed.
Good morning, Jonathan. How are you?
I'm good, thank you, sir. And with me here in the studio is Sasha Burns, former presidential campaign staffer for Al Gore's campaign. Great to see you, Sasha.
Good to see you.
Ed, let me come to you first. The president says his administration is doing everything they can to keep gas prices down, but these things take time to actually have an effect. That would seem to be a fair point, would it not?
Well, if it were only true, then it would be a fair point, but it's not. The pipeline, he had an opportunity to vote. Congress put an amazing amount of pressure on the president, but the president decided to put jobs aside and not approve the pipeline, so it's on hold. We haven't had exploration in areas like the Gulf, like in Alaska, like in the Arctic Circle. Those are areas that could be opened up. This president has failed miserably with any energy policy. The real key here, though, is that we actually are producing, the United States is producing more oil than ever before, and which gasoline ultimately. The problem is that the president and this administration fails to understand the marketplace, and that, if we get into that debate, the president loses because Mitt Romney clearly does.
President fails to understand the marketplace and isn't doing enough, quickly enough?
No, I'd absolutely disagree with that. I think that what President Obama knows is that the president has very little effect on gas prices now. Republicans also know this, but it's a great election year slogan to talk about how it's his fault. There's not much he can do in the short term. Now, Republicans and Democrats disagree on how much you should drill. That's absolutely true. It's not that Democrats oppose drilling, but we think you should do it with more caution. And it looks great to drill until you have BP oil spill and you have Keystone Pipeline getting rushed through by Republicans without looking at the possible effects.
Ed, isn't it a fair point that when we get things like the BP oil spill, everybody needs to take a step back and say, hold on, let's make sure if we're going to do this, we do it right. And that takes time.
It does take time, and if you look beyond my shoulder, the beautiful beaches of Miami prove the point. However, we have over-regulated and effectively allowed the oil drilling to take place outside of American territory. I mean, the Cubans are doing it, the Chinese are doing it, everybody's doing it right off of the Gulf here in Florida, just outside of territorial waters. You know what? Enough is enough. The U.S. government needs to back off. The safety records are very strong. I don't have any problem at all. In fact, when I leave here, I'm going to be driving along the beach. I want that protected as a Floridian. But at the end of the day, the marketplace drives this, and President Obama has little understanding of the marketplace. We're paying now close to $4.50 for a gallon of gas. That is a hidden tax, and when we talk about lower income, middle income people, those people are hardest hit. It's a hidden tax, and look, at the end of the day, he has to do everything he can, and he is not. The pipeline is a good example.
All right.
He had an opportunity to create jobs and didn't do it.
A couple of our viewers weighing in here. Laurie says, unlike you, Ed, he thinks Obama does understand the marketplace, and that's how he's been able to destroy it so well. Can you read this? Says the President of the United States now owns the marketplace. He's doubled the cost in only 3 years. his plan is working. Charles Reese says Mr. Obama wants gas prices high. Even his own Secretary of Energy has said he wants to get gas prices up to European levels. The president also talked today about market manipulation of oil prices. Let's listen to him on that.
Today we're announcing new steps to strengthen oversight of energy markets. Things that we can do administratively, we are doing. And I call on Congress to pass a package of measures to crack down on illegal activity and hold accountable those who manipulate the market for private gain at the expense of millions of working families.
Now, Sasha, if there's a marketplace for anything, there's people trying to make money out of it. Can he regulate the market more? Should he regulate the market more?
Well, absolutely. Although, Ed, I'm feeling very sorry for Jonathan and me looking at your background of Miami. Why are we not there?
I don't know. You're welcome.
Well, thank you very much. Absolutely you can. And in fact, George Bush said the same when oil prices were high under him. He said he absolutely was not going to allow this kind of manipulation. Now, what we know is that along with supply and demand, speculators have a lot to do with the increase in oil prices. So what Obama is trying to do, President Obama is trying to do, is increase that oversight, make sure that they're not doing anything illegal. And is it political because Congress won't pass it? Yes. But what it is it shows a clear distinction between where Democrats are and where Republicans are. Because right now, Republicans want to loosen regulations on Wall Street, which is not what has helped our economy at this point.
Ed, is that what this is? A fight between the left who want more regulation and Republicans who just want to loosen regulations even more on a Wall Street that has taken an advantage, frankly, of a lot of loose regulations in the past?
Well, I would say this. The biggest manipulator of the market has been the Obama administration. When the energy secretary comes out and says, we want, as a policy, gasoline prices to be as high or higher than Europe, so this way we can push a policy of solar, wind, and natural energy. That's what we want. That's what he said. That was the stated policy. So they are doing everything they can to effectively manipulate the market. The Obama administration is getting what its policy deserves: higher gasoline prices for everyone.
All right, Sarah West weighing in here on our chat today, saying maybe all these folks who constantly complain about too much government regulation should move to a country with less of it, if they can find one. I want to put up a graphic that we have, a Fox News poll we did recently, April 9th to 11th, I think it was carried out, on whether people think that gas prices are a threat to the economic recovery. If we can put that up, you see there that 47% say extremely serious threat, 40% say somewhat serious, so 87% believe, Sasha, that it is at least a somewhat serious threat to the economic recovery. That is a worrying figure for the president, isn't it? Because he has to deal with it. Whether it's his fault or not, he's got to deal with it somehow.
Well, sure. And, I mean, every time we go to fill up the car, you see it. It's painful. And it doesn't just affect your own car. It affects prices of airlines. It affects trains. It's across the board. But the problem is he will have to deal with it in terms of it's tough politically, but there is very little he can do right now to make a difference in that. And Ed, it's a complete misrepresentation of what the Energy Secretary said in terms of wanting the gas prices to go higher. The reality is, if gas prices are higher, people drive less. And there is a debate about whether or not that's helpful, because we do have to lower our reliance on gas.
Ed, before you come back on that, I just want to put up one other figure from that same Fox News poll on whether President Obama is taking enough action to reduce gas prices. 50% said he could do more, but he doesn't want to. 47% says he wants to do more, but can't. That seems to be the sort of pretty straight political split in the country right now. We're on down the middle on pretty much everything, aren't we? And that's where this election is going to, that 3% gap is where this election is going to be won and lost.
Well, I can't disagree with that analysis, Jonathan, but the key here is that higher gasoline prices impact everybody, and it impacts disproportionately lower and middle class people. Why? Because grocery prices go up. driving to work, the cost of driving the kids to school and go to work goes up. It is a hidden tax, and whether the Obama administration wants to step up to the plate or not, they had a choice. Keystone Pipeline was a key choice. Obama administration decided to side on the extremist environmentalist position and stop the project dead in its tracks.
Okay, just on Keystone really quickly, because there's so much misinformation about that. It's not dead in its tracks. It most likely will be approved. But what happened was Nebraska Republicans voted down the original Keystone proposal. They said they had to come back with a new proposal. It has to be vetted by the State Department because it is international borders. And so you can't just, it couldn't have gone forward as it was. And whether or not it is approved now or is it approved in a year, it would have nothing to do with gas prices right now.
All right, let's move on from the gas prices debate, if we may. Ed, I want to get your thoughts before I have to let you go on another of the hot-button issues of the day as we approach the election, who Mitt Romney might pick as his vice presidential running mate. He said yesterday that the search for a VP is already underway. Who do you like?
Well, I think I said last time I was here, I'd love Jeb Bush to be the vice president, but the bottom line is that
list, though. Does he, Ed?
Well, I'm not so sure we know the list. So I would suggest that you've got 3 or 4, at least 3 Floridians that have been mentioned: Allen West, Senator Rubio, and Jeb Bush. You've had Rob Portman. You've got some really good candidates to choose from. I think that we're going to see the decision-making process on how a future Romney administration is going to go through, how they vet, and the types of things they're going to look for. I think we're going to get a chance to see how methodical Mitt Romney and his administration will be in vetting the potential vice president. So I think it's a good signal for us.
So you would say that Romney would rule out the kind of Sarah Palin out of left field pick and will be more sort of careful, traditional, cautious, whatever you want to call it, in his vetting of a candidate, Ed?
No, I would say that I would think that we would get a window, an understanding of how a Romney administration would vet major decisions when it comes to the pick of vice president. No slight on the Sarah Palin pick. The McCain people vetted whatever they did. But in this instance, I think we're going to get a chance to see. Now he's got plenty of time. We're going to get a chance to see how they make decisions. I think it's a good signal for Republicans. I also like what Romney's doing. He's starting to consolidate the base. I think Republicans are going to be fully and completely united to take on President Obama.
Sasha, who do you think that Romney might lean towards as a running mate?
Well, I think it depends. And I think, Ed, you're right in that you'll see how methodical he is. But it's methodical in terms of winning an election, not in terms of policy. And they're keeping it close to the vest. They've already said they're going to keep it close to the vest because as he is reaching out to conservatives and evangelicals right now, he wants to... he doesn't want to make any moves that will make them think even more that he's not on their side. Now, what he has said, the one thing is that he's going to make sure of is that the vice president is anti-abortion, because we all know that vice presidents set abortion policy, right? So I mean, if that's all the evangelicals are going to get, that's not much.
Right.
So I think he'll wait to see how far they are, where they are, if he's energized them, and if so, he could move to picking somebody from a swing state, picking Rob Portman from Ohio because he's sort of an adult in the room, and Romney could move more towards we're going to deal well with the economy. But it's all about how well he's doing with the evangelicals.
All right, one quick bit of news before we go, Ed. I'll get your comments on this just very quickly. We just got a new Reuters Ipsos poll showing that President Obama leading Mitt Romney among women voters by 51% to 37%. That is a huge gender gap for Mitt Romney to overcome. Doesn't look as though the whole Hillary Rosen and Romney spat really helped Mitt Romney as some thought it would.
Well, I think at the end of the day, this idea of this myth of the Republican war on women is simply a myth. In fact, we did get a chance to see what the Obama administration thought of a stay-at-home mom in Ann Romney, that she never worked a day in her life. I mean, Sasha, you don't believe that Ann Romney never worked a day in her life, do you?
Oh, I think taking care of kids is the easiest thing in the world for about 5 minutes. No, but hold on, Ed. Hillary Rosen is not part of the administration. She is not part of the campaign. She doesn't work for the DNC, which was widely reported. She is a pundit, and happily, neither you nor I ever says anything idiotic.
And she may not be doing much punditry for any time
It was
soon,
not a good week for her.
It was not. All right, I got to wrap it up there. But go on, last word, Ed.
Did the president call and apologize to Ann Romney?
You don't have to apologize. Look,
I don't think he had to
He can do
apologize
whatever
for
he
that.
wants, okay? But his people didn't say it. He didn't apologize for Rush Limbaugh. And Ann Romney is not an individual private citizen. She's part of a Romney campaign.
All right, I didn't want to revisit the Hillary Rosen Ann Romney debate. I really just wanted to talk about women, but there we go.
You always want to talk about women.
I always do want to talk about women. That's another subject altogether. Ed Paswally, former advisor to John Huntsman's presidential campaign, and Sacha Burns, former Al Gore presidential campaign staffer. Thank you both very much. Great to have you here.
Thank you.